Hello, dear friends, my lovely audiences. Welcome to the East-West Show, Jenny TV. Jack Zhao is my name. Yes, for the past 1 week, just as soon as the New Year started, marijuana is going to be has becoming a big word on the lips, on the streets, in the corners, on the news, on paper, everywhere. Everybody is talking about marijuana, big M. The big M thing is going like a landslide. Well, when law says it's okay, it is okay to me, right? But are things as simple as that, or as easy as that? I started seeing lots of new things. On the freeway, you see those signs, the billboards, the electronic billboards saying that drive high, and drive high, you get a DUI, something like that. Okay, now, anyway, and I've received newsletters about each city, different rules, accordances of doing marijuana. And licensing, so there's still stuff like that. And today joining me is my good friend, President of LA County Probation Commission, Mr. Joe Garder. Sir, welcome to the show.
As always, Jack, I really enjoy coming to your show.
Very good, very good. And like I said, whenever there's a problem, I bring the crying baby to the mother. In this case, the mother is a proud PD officer, Santa Monica PD, for 28 glorious years. Mr. Joe Garder, he has to say. Now he holds the position of the president for LA County Probation Commission. Yes. Right. So basically, we're not giving any comment on the law, though. Basically, what do you say?
A lot of changes. You talk about the big M, but I think what you're really talking behind the scenes are the big dollar signs.
Yeah, big money. M stands for money.
Yeah.
M could be anything, McDonald's, whatever.
Right. And that seems to be the trend, as you say, for the last few weeks.
Exactly. So you see lots of things going on, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Such as?
Well, I think the main concern is the new report that the Attorney General is considering that they may start, or they've given discretion to some of the deputy attorney generals throughout the country to begin to enforce the marijuana laws that are on the books still. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of sends a ripple through the whole system because as far as the federal government is concerned, marijuana is still illegal. People are being arrested for that all the time, transporting, sales.
All right. So
that really creates a lot of confusion and a lot of conflicts here in California.
Well, on this level, we do see lots of things in conflict between local laws, state local laws, and federal laws.
Right.
When federal says it's illegal to do so, and the local level, the state level, people still legalizing it, such as California, such as Nevada,
and
right?
Colorado,
such as Colorado,
right.
Probably New Mexico, no.
I don't know where else that would be, but I think you named the big ones that have already had, especially Colorado, who's been selling marijuana within its state for some time, and now they've begun to recognize
they were almost a
problem.
year ahead of us, right? A year ahead of us. The year before we legalized marijuana, they did already. That's why lots of people rushed to them, to their territory, to do the recreational marijuana.
Absolutely.
And then followed by Nevada, and followed by California. Now in California, we legalized last year, and then the legalization came in force as of January 1. Am I right?
That's correct.
Okay, now, so under this condition, though, what still do the federal laws say? The federal laws still say no, that's not illegal, not legal.
Yeah, it's not legal to sell marijuana anywhere in the. If you look at the code, it's very clear. It says that it's an illegal Schedule I drug, and it's not supposed to be sold. And then there's some issues with the banking system. You know, any money that you earn from that can't be put through the federal banking system. So that really creates a lot of problems for those selling marijuana in those states.
So lots of conflicts over there, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. The thing is that, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm always confused or amazed, to use a better word, by the conflicts of that. Okay, now, day one, marijuana was illegal. Day two, marijuana was legal, become legal.
Right.
The element structure, the element property, and the chemical property of marijuana remains the same. Am I right?
No, actually, marijuana, if you compare it to the kind of marijuana that was around in the 1970s, it's about 30 times stronger than that grade of marijuana.
Oh.
So now the new marijuana in the 21st century is much more potent. Its properties are much more potent than they were, and that's because of cultivation, and it's been refined over the decades, and now it's gotten to be quite
It's a better plant.
Yeah,
better plant.
Yeah,
more efficient.
Right.
Anyway, the negative way, not the positive way.
That's correct.
Am I right? Right. So now, to the damage or to the effect to your brain system, it's still the same thing. Am I right?
Yeah, it causes impairment.
Okay,
it's a real problem for people who operate machines or cars. Yeah.
All right, and then that's why the first impact we see on our freeways.
Right. Absolutely.
Now, and as police officer, do you know there is any device, whatever, that can testify or can quantify the fact, like say, like your alcohol content, right? So to marijuana, can we do the same thing?
Well, other than identifying objective symptoms, you know, a police officer pulls a driver over and they seem to be impaired and they have, you know, behavior or characteristics that might say that they're under the influence of something, an officer can do something. As far as testing in the street, you know, like a breathalyzer test for alcohol, they don't have that. You know, you have to do a blood sample in a hospital setting to be able to determine if they are under the influence or have a high marijuana content in their blood. I see.
But in blood, if you do a clinical test, though, you will still find the marijuana content.
Right, absolutely. Right.
To the naked eye, to an officer on duty, he is unable, even with a device. There's no such a device at all.
No, there isn't for the field, but that's where you rely on the officer's expertise. You know, his training to be able to look at somebody and say, well, I don't know what he's on, but he's definitely impaired. You know, he can't drive. And so officers still have that tool and that ability to arrest people based on what they observe.
Does that mean extra work to the patrol officers?
Yeah, it is additional work.
Do we have extra manpower?
No, that's the problem. Law enforcement has been suffering.
That's why I'm asking,
less numbers, not as many police officers nowadays, and so that does create a problem.
I'm so worried about the fact, as of yesterday, I interviewed my dear friend, Bob Lindsay. You know Bob Lindsay,
yes.
Right? He is the candidate for county sheriff of LA. According to him, the crime rate of California is dropping a bit. In the meantime, LA County as a county, our crime rate is going up.
Yes.
It's soaring up, right? Because of many factors altogether. One of the factors that played the core issue was that they have a shorthand already.
Right.
Right.
You're correct.
On the books to cover such a territory of 88 cities, they need 8,500 patrol deputy officers on the street. Now they have only 5,000.
Wow. That's
the shortage is 3,500. Now that you're saying that with the extra work added, those poor officers have to use their own quote-unquote experiences, their naked eyes, to tell us who is impaired, who is not.
Right. It's a real challenge for law enforcement. If they don't have enough people enough officers in the street to patrol and take initiative to enforce the law, they're left with only one thing, and that's to respond to the radio calls that come in.
Yeah, they're the large.
Right.
They're large. They're running everywhere, right?
Reactionary, yeah.
My dear friends, today we're doing a discussion about marijuana. I personally may not necessarily go against the law. The law is a law. When they say legalize, legalize it, I'm okay with it because I never touch it. It's nothing related with me. But the thing is that I could be hit by a car. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Right? It was the bullet. It was the bullet. Bullet hits me, right?
Right.
Okay,
Exactly.
and there's a stray bullet. Right? So now with this marijuana thing, with the fact that they are out there, there could be impaired drivers on the freeway, we're at the risk, right?
Absolutely.
So we're doing a discussion with my friend Joe Garder. He is the current president of Los Angeles County Probation Commission and the glorious PD officer for Santa Monica for 28 years, and retired home. Oh, by the way, he is also doing a Meals on Wheels, right? Targeting to help the needy people, right? So let's take a very short moment now. When we come back, we'll find out how much are we at risk about that. Hello, lovely audiences, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, my dear fellow Angelinos, welcome back to the show. It is a show talking about ourselves because in California, usage of marijuana is legalized. And the commercialization of marijuana is legalized. Clinics are running like legalized and everything is legalized. And then the only way you're talking is about our freeway, about traffic, our streets, every corner, all right? Well, we're kind of worried. The more the word gets out with a big M, of course, M in this case, could be translated into marijuana apprentices money, right? Mm-hmm. So it's still money you're talking about. With my friend Joe Garder, a former PD officer, I basically pinpoint to one that how much is the community are at risk?
Yeah, it's a huge. I think it's going to be a huge problem. In fact, 2 days ago, there was an accident in Covina that was characterized in the newspaper as being probably one of the first marijuana-related car crashes.
Wonderful.
Where someone plowed into another driver and causing some serious problems for that driver. So
wonderful.
We may see more and more of that as the days come.
And of course, driving is one thing, right? Marijuana makes you high. That's the other, right? Should we see more, rise of robbery, of raping, of fighting, or killing?
Well, I have some real concerns about the robbing portion. As we talked about in this first segment, is that the banking system doesn't allow for the money of proceeds from marijuana sales into the banking system. So what that forces is marijuana distributors or sellers to accumulate large sums of money. They saw this happen in Colorado, where they would have duffel bags full of money that they earned.
Then where do they put the money?
Exactly, where? So thieves recognized that this is an opportunity, and they began to hold up marijuana
cash form,
right, to steal the money,
to steal the money,
right. Very dangerous, take over.
Yeah, it is very dangerous because we're talking about two things, right? Number one, when the cash income accumulated somewhere somehow in the cash register or whatever, in the safe whatsoever, and that is a trigger of lucrative enough for the robbers to come to get them, right?
Right, absolutely.
And number two, we're talking about money launderers.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. When they have that kind of money in cash form, they must be off the record.
Right.
Right.
Where does that money go? That's
where
the
does
big
the
question.
money go?
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So, are we failing to recognize that's a big hole there?
Yes, I think we are. And as some will tell you, and I happen to get this information because I'm a member of the California Narcotics Officers Association.
Yeah, all right.
And, you know, they will talk about the fact that cartels have inserted themselves into the retail marijuana business and sell their product. And then they take the money and they use it for all kinds of other things, human trafficking and everything else, to fund the different kinds of crimes that a cartel or a gang would be involved in. And so that creates more problems.
Sure, there's also another fact. The drug cartel, they have their networks,
right?
Which was underground. Now with the marijuana, the whole thing legalized, they can openly get involved.
Right, they can.
And now the drug is still in their hands, am I right?
Absolutely.
Still in their hands.
Right. And the huge problem with that is that the person, the consumer, the person who buys the marijuana, they don't know where that marijuana may have come from. Was it across the border? Was it treated with toxic chemicals that wouldn't be happening here? What kind of things were done to get that marijuana across the border into the neighborhood marijuana pot shop?
And there is still the third layer of it. The third layer being that it becomes an encouragement,
right,
to drug trafficking, from domestic, even from international.
Absolutely.
Like say from our lovely neighbor, right?
To the south, yeah.
That's a very sounding encouragement. Come on, let's go. Let's do it for it.
Right.
Let's do it.
They're still smuggling it every day. Even recognizing that it's now become legal, they're still smuggling marijuana in there. And why? Because they want to insert that marijuana into the system.
You have more users. Because if I was a user before, I used it illegally.
Right.
Now I use it legally.
Right.
My requirement is in the open, so it comes with the demands, market demands. The market demands becomes open, and then regardless, you come in the right way, the wrong way, whichever way, smuggle it, you're all welcome. I like that kind of thing.
Right. And in fact, I learned something interesting is that they believe that the underground or black market sales of marijuana will still take place because that marijuana, the street version of marijuana, will be cheaper than the one that you buy from the pot shop because it's going to be taxed, right? The pot shop taxed to a certain degree, as well as the price maybe a little higher. So some users will say, well, why don't I just buy it from Lenny, my drug dealer, as I was doing before, instead of going to
the old channel.
Right, because it's cheaper. You know, you may not know where it comes from or how healthy it is, but maybe I'll do that better than go to the pot shop and have to pay taxes on it.
After all, it is quite sizable encouragement to dealers, either strugglers or dealers or even even traders, right? To do so, because right now you're doing the right thing.
Yeah. The biggest problem is I think they put the cart before the horse. They really didn't think of the consequences before they passed this law.
Exactly. And also, on the other hand, I don't think, or do you think, the state, before they passed the law, they did an evaluation if California is ready for it?
Right. Absolutely. All they saw was the cha-ching of dollars going into cash registers.
All right, very good. All right, good. My dear friend, my lovely audiences, we're really confused. I'm quite amazed by the no-brainer laws. I call them no-brainer laws. And the other day, I had a nice interview with a friend of mine, and his name is Tom Menzel. Tom Menzel talking about those laws that tighten the small business owners to a certain extent. Either they close the doors or they run out to other countries, right? This is one way to indicate that we have the no-brainer laws. On this whole regard, though, we're talking about a drug control, so we still produce no-brainer laws ourselves, right? Dear audience, let's take a short moment now to coming back, we find out, like the old proverb says, you can't find it, follow the money, right? Let's see where the money goes. Stay with us. Hello, lovely friends, dear audience, this is my lovely fellow Angelinos. Welcome back, fellow Californians we're talking about. Welcome back to the show, a discussion about marijuana being legalized or illegalized already, and its activities are legalized, its sales are legalized, its usage are legalized, its licensing are legalized, or even smugglers are legalized, I would say, to a certain extent. With me in the discussion is my good friend, Mr. Joe Garder. He was a former PD officer of Santa Monica PD, and he was once involved in the narcotic group as a detective. He knows exactly what we're talking about. In the meantime, he is right now the current president of LA County Probation Commission. So it's his cup of tea. And it's my cup of tea as well, because I'm a taxpayer. I don't want my tax money go nowhere or go helping the negativities, right? Now, the problem is that I was asking Joe if he thought that California knew what exactly they were doing when they legalized it, and California did exactly evaluation before legalizing marijuana, that we are ready or not. It looks like we are not ready.
No.
We're not ready.
Right. They could have looked at Colorado and the issues that it's having and could have said, you know what, maybe we shouldn't do that. Or maybe we need to figure out a different way. But I think they ran headstrong into the idea of being able to tax marijuana and didn't really think about the consequences.
Yeah, of course. They instead of attacking it 90 degrees, right? To turn it around, to push it, and we become another state that legalizes marijuana. But the thing is that I believe you and I, what we have been talking about, is not that hard to understand.
Right.
I would say anybody who has been to school for 3 years, or anybody with an IQ that is above a 3-year-old, above a whatever, would know what we're talking about. Right. However, why would we still do so? That gives a big question mark. Why, right? And then, like I said, we follow the old proverb. Sometimes you listen to grandma has it. Grandma says you can't find it, go follow the money.
Absolutely, follow the money.
Okay, follow the big M, follow the money. So in this case, where did the money go? Who gets the money, please?
Yeah, that's why I wonder. The state, the government will get some money because it's taxed now. So some of that money will go in there.
No, stop.
Yeah.
The government gets money when the money cannot even go to a bank, it's not even on a book. And where does the government get the money?
Exactly.
How come the government would know even the number of the money?
Right. So they're going to be in the money laundering business? I don't know.
And unless the government join them in the money laundering business, that's a government like that.
Yeah. How does that going to work?
All right.
I don't think it was thought through.
So who gets the money? Who else gets the money?
Right, exactly. I mean, the other entities, maybe nefarious, illegal entities, will get the money laundered through their businesses now, the proceeds, since it can't go through the banking system. So those people will benefit. You know, the neighborhood street dealer is still going to get his money because he sells a cheaper product probably than the taxed one, right?
Okay.
So you could look at probably many dozens of ways that somehow somebody's going to benefit that, and not always for the better, right? It's not for good. So ultimately, I think the taxpayers.
I'm thinking about the lobbies.
Right. Marijuana lobbies.
Marijuana lobbies, and also the marijuana products, marijuana-related products.
Right. All the side businesses.
I'm pretty sure in no time you will see marijuana beer,
Right.
marijuana soda, right? Or marijuana makeup for ladies.
Right.
Could be.
Right.
Could be.
It could happen. You look at that and you say that you know, the stock market for marijuana-related businesses are going up.
Yeah,
right?
gonna skyrocketing.
Some have already done that.
Yeah, gonna be skyrocketing
Right.
because, well, anyway, do we know marijuana harms our human body?
I think we do. You know, the American Cancer Society, I think, had reports. Tobacco, same thing. They talk about the same issues where people with certain conditions who ingest marijuana will start developing you know, respiratory problems. The big concern that I see, and I don't understand why nobody recognizes this, is that when you get marijuana from other sources down south in Mexico, they use pesticides and other chemicals to process the marijuana to make sure that it grows. So they'll spray something that's illegal in the United States, but they have no problem using it down in Mexico. So they'll spray that on the marijuana, and then when it's time to harvest, they just pick it and pack it up and send it to the States.
And then we consume it.
Yeah, absolutely.
The drug users consume it, right?
So how safe is the product? You don't know, and that's a real issue.
That's kind of a problem in all aspects, from all Ds, not 3Ds, from all Ds, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the problem is that, do we know, okay, I understand the whole thing started from an argument in between medical use or entertainment use, these two, right? Okay. Medically, was it confirmed, has it been confirmed that it will do the opposite, do positivity to human body? And for recreation, to what extent do you call it recreation?
Right.
We understand, given the condition that tobacco has done bad enough, even get me included as one of it addicted.
Right.
Right? So I really hate myself for not being able so far to quit it. And then we're creating another.
Yeah, it's
So
a real problem.
These all together, do we get an answer, do we?
I don't think we do, but I think that's where the federal government should step forward and do the right thing. If they really believe, and I'm not a supporter of marijuana, you could already tell that, right?
Yeah,
but,
of course.
But I think if you want to legitimize the use of marijuana, then I think the federal government should do research, should do studies. They should go through the USDA, you know, Food and Drug Administration, to really look at the issue of use of marijuana and see if it really does have any benefit. I mean, we hear about benefits, and it's mostly anecdotal. Somebody will say, "Well, it helped, you know, my friend when he had cancer, right, as a way to stop the pain." Well, if it truly has some medicinal purposes, then let's prove it, make it. Let's do studies and make sure it is before we give it out to people.
Yeah, it looks to me that unless you are somebody not expecting to live any longer,
Right.
just to hold on to less pain
Right.
while ending a life, though, if that makes sense, make it that way.
Right,
Right?
absolutely.
I'm okay with that part.
Yeah.
If you are a healthy person, a good person, looking at the long future, you want to still keep living on. So the word recreation doesn't apply. You don't want to recreate that way.
No, you don't.
Am I right?
Just like alcohol or spirits. I mean, obviously, we know
Exactly.
that, you know, overindulgence in those will create all kinds of problems.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. What is the relationship between marijuana and opium?
Well, they're both kind of they have a sedative effect, but
Different plants?
yeah, different. Opium's much more stronger and potent, and people obviously have, as we have an opiate crisis right now.
Okay.
A lot of people get addicted to that. It's like heroin, so same thing.
It's still prevailing?
Yeah, considerably. OxyContin, prescribed medical medications that people are misusing and get addicted.
Will the concentrated marijuana produce the same thing that the opium do?
It says it does, but I haven't seen any studies, and that's where I really have concern, because you have people saying that if it's more potent now, people are going to get addicted to it. Well, I think we have an obligation as citizens, or a country or a government should really take the responsible tact and really look at the issue and say once and for all whether or not it's safe, right?
Well, excuse me, my audiences, I always think funny. Sometimes when I think I'm thinking too funny, I have to announce my declaration. Right? I have my disclaimer is following, that whatever I say represents only myself, my personal opinion. Right. Well, I say this only sometime when I think I'm thinking too much or too funny. All right, like that. So now, of course, you're talking about mission impossible or mission possible, right? Right. In other words, impossible should always, or sooner or later, become possible. Right. A year ago, marijuana was illegal. Now you're talking legal, right? Right? Now, should we say someday, somehow, heroins, cocaines will be legalized?
Yeah,
because quote unquote it entertains.
You could have that discussion, I guess, because if you let this go, what other drugs are going to be?
Yeah, only matter of fact.
And there are forces within our state that really think all drugs should be made legal.
And probably someday we should legalize that you can take your pants off on the street. It's only a matter of time. Yeah. Right? It takes time to do it, but it is never impossible. Right. Should be possible.
It's a slippery slope once you start down.
Yeah, right. My dear audience, I'm a little crazy about this thing. And, thinking a little funny. But one thing for sure, if you follow the essence of what I thought, well, it's not joking. I'm not joking, right? It was only a year ago marijuana was illegal. You get handcuffed for doing that. Now we will probably get a word, get a plaque, hang on a wall of a #1 seller of marijuana, something of state. Or man of the sellers with year, or something like that. All right, my dear audience, with Joe Garder, my dear friend, we want to wrap it as a segment. When we come back, we want to find out, is there a cure? Well, they always say there's never been too late, right? It can be too late. So are we too late or not? So let's find out when we come back, please. Action. Hello, dear friends, lovely audience, my dear fellow Californians, poor Californians, welcome back to this show. We're kind of like swimming in the ocean of no-brainer laws, okay? Only a few days ago, we had this third bathroom that got everybody lost. Now we're talking about the legalization of marijuana. Now we're talking about marijuana is legalized everywhere. Its activities everywhere. And before no time, we will probably see marijuana-related soda cans, right? Or beer or chocolate bars. Marijuana chocolate bars. Or Mary chocolate. How about that? Mary chocolate. Chocolate marijuana, right? A Mary Chocolina, something like that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm creative enough. However, the state lawmakers are more creative than I am that they legalize marijuana. Thing is that with me, my good friend Joe Garder, current president of LA County Probation Commission, former narcotic detective at Santa Monica PD, where he served 28 glorious years. We really get our head scratched because it is really something that bothers everyone while in good shape. If you're in good shape, you really got to worry about this whole thing. Yeah. Number one, I don't want to be entertained that way. And number two, I'm not just on my bed dying. Well, I don't have that kind of pain though. So now, when we say that we legalize marijuana, have we realized that we have a society, a third of our people are kids? Have we considered that?
I don't think we have. There's a lot of things that weren't considered, and namely getting young people hooked on marijuana, takes them out of the workforce, right? Because they can't work. It creates health problems. It maybe exacerbates health problems they already had, like asthma and other issues. So I don't think we've thought about those kinds of things. Government's supposed to be a good steward and be aware of the welfare of our people. And when they propose something like this and pass it through, it makes me think they weren't concerned about the people.
People don't realize monkey sees, monkey do.
Right.
Right? They learn.
Absolutely.
They copy us. Right?
You're right.
So, is there any enough prevention to make sure that this thing doesn't go to our kid, at least not under 21?
I don't think there is. I mean, we have a problem with, tobacco or vaping products that are getting in the hands of kids now. And it's very hard to, enforce that or regulate that or keep it out of the hands of kids. You can keep it away from them at the check stand, at the counter of the vaping store.
Of course, yeah.
But they're still getting it.
They get it from their friends.
Just like alcohol. A kid gets it outside.
Get from their friends, from their dad, from their moms, like that, right? Those they still get access to it.
Right.
So there's no way stopping it. And yet you're talking about lots of pregnant women.
Right.
So medically, we haven't determined if it is related, if it should relate to pregnancy, to childbirth, to baby defect, or something like that.
They have to come up with some good studies. And they have to be studies done by the government. I mean, how do you determine if it's safe or not?
Speaking of that devil, we go back again. We said, when we discussed even the second segment, that the California government, or as a state, did not do enough study before they made the decision to legalize it.
Absolutely.
Right? So that goes to that group. Right? On school campus, though, we have to have laws. We have to have school rules, and we are not even ready with that.
No, we're not.
I haven't heard any school that had marijuana laws.
No, they didn't anticipate it would happen.
Codes or ornament, right? Something like that. Right?
Well, they have general ones that say that you can't bring certain things onto a school campus, and those still exist. They're not enforced, probably as much as they should, because it's difficult.
You're talking about enforcement. Now we're at the time we should enforce it.
Right.
We want to strongly enforce to make sure our kids are totally clean from it.
Right.
Right. So schools are not ready. So do you think the detail shops, they are ready?
No, I don't think so. It ultimately is going to rest on the individual to make a good, wise decision to stay away from it. And, parents and guardians are going to have to be the ones that are the monitors and prevention component to keeping kids away from marijuana.
A few days ago, I was on Venice Beach for a weekend, though, and there's a shop, front door, everything painted green, very green, with some green leaves on the door. And there are two ladies kind of inviting everybody to come in for a try.
Yeah.
Right? My wife says, go in check. I said, no, that's marijuana, because I smell it. Right? They invite people to come in to try it. To probably smoke it or something like that. Right? Even though I'm a smoker, I resisted not going. All right. However, it is not everybody have that kind of willpower not to go. So in other words, not only they are selling, they are teaching.
Right.
They're dragging you in. That's dangerous, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It kind of creates a normalcy, right? A norm, saying that, well, maybe it's more acceptable now. And that could be with the wrong individuals, it's not good, because you're going to get kids addicted.
If we're talking about signatures, if enough people, enough Californians, tries to overturn it with a signature thing, can we do it?
I think you could, of course. We may not have to wait, though, because if the federal government decides they're going to enforce the laws that they refused to enforce in the past administration, the last 8 years, you could see the federal police, law enforcement come to our state and really start going to some of these pot shops and closing them down.
But there are enough examples on the contrary. And of course, when California and the LA city chose to be sanctuary state and sanctuary city, I mean support, because I believe we have the problems that other states do not have. Right. So we know how to handle problems. They are human beings. You have to provide them a little harbor or something to sanctuary them, right? Okay.
Right.
That's one issue. Even with that, the federal government wants to get in, they can't get in.
Yeah, they'll choose alternative ways to get in. You talk about the sanctuary city laws, and there's been talk with the ICE director, Thomas Homan, who says, well, maybe we need to start enforcing the federal law against these politicians who decided that it was acceptable to have a sanctuary policy.
But would that work, though?
It could, right? I mean, the law's on the books.
How do you work? They bring the officials to court?
To justice, yeah, I guess in the mind of the federal government. I would like to see that day in
yeah,
the
Jim Brown would have to go to jail because he signed the law, right?
Right. Yeah.
But the thing is that the call was made him, and that was proven by the constituents.
Right.
And that's the problem.
And that's the problem.
The law cannot punish the constituents.
No, it can't. But it could reverse the law. It could say that, it could declare, hey, this law was already illegal and you chose to, circumvent the federal law and decide to make your own law. It's not going to work. You're going to, and that's where it's going to come to a head. It's going to have to go through the courts.
So legally that can work.
Sure.
The federal can enforce that way, say, hey, stop it.
I think all they need is the willpower to do it. If somebody wants to bite off that piece of action to go and arrest a politician for allowing that, being a facilitator of
that would be funny. That would be a lot of
sales.
funny situation.
It would be.
They're talking about the federal government probably out of business again, partially closed on the 19th if they don't approve the budget.
Right.
That's the whole thing. I wonder they do not even have the budget to do so.
No, they don't.
Right?
They don't.
So the thing is that we go on our own Californian way, right? Mm-hmm. Other ways I like, the sanctuary city I like, the sanctuary state I like, because I know in the long run it's not good to the country, but right now, we use that as our painkiller because the pain is so big. Right. We want to use a painkiller. I know painkiller does not cure the disease, so other states does not understand our sanctuary state or sanctuary city was only a painkiller thing. For that, I'm in support. For marijuana, though, I'm 100% going against it.
Yeah, as myself. You have to do, if you're going to do something like this, there has to be research and a clear understanding whether or not it's safe. And if you're going to make it allowable, then you need to regulate it very heavily. In other words, maybe you have our medical or pharmaceutical grade of marijuana that passes, the USDA or FDA, Food and Drug Administration, and make them the regulators of that, so that if it does come to the hands of the consumer, it's a safe product. That it doesn't have chemicals.
You're right.
That where it came from, and it came from a safe place, and you can ingest it. Mm-hmm. I mean, they do that with beer and alcohol, spirits, and maybe they need to do that with marijuana.
It was only this morning when I was adding this, what's it called, coffee power, the coffee power shot.
Right.
Because
yeah.
you want to make the coffee
Power.
stronger, right?
Right.
And I do that every morning. And all of a sudden I thought to myself, oh my God, someday, somehow, probably there's a amount of marijuana in it.
You never know.
You
Well, you'd be
never
a little
know.
sleepy maybe.
You never know. No, I'll be high.
Yeah,
I'll
you
be
might be
high,
high.
all right. My dear audience, is there is something unhealthy with us, and in a big way. The marijuana legalization, its consequences of the legalization, and its symptoms, lots of symptoms are showing right now. With me, my good friend Joe Gardner, the president of LA County probation officer, former narcotic detective of Santa Monica PD, where he served for 28 glorious years and retired as a president for Meals on Wheels, a man never putting a rest, never take a rest. So Mr. Joe Gardner, my brother, kind of friends. So loving from the loving of the community, from the concern of the community, the legalization and the consequences of the legalization of marijuana brings everybody to his concern about how are we going to protect ourselves, especially we have a society that's 1/3 are kids. Right. So, and the discussion is open. If you want to express yourself, write it to me, please. Tell my DJ at gmail.com as the email address on the screen. Tell my DJ at gmail.com, or you can call 626-856-3889 to express yourself, and we want to be in touch with you. To my dear audience, thank you very much. To lovely friend Joe, thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
Right. Hold it for the camera, please. All right, good.